So shall I start now? 10:20. Okay, so everybody is gathered here. So I start as a short reflection. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So I thought I'll start with a verse in the Dhammapada. I'm sure most of you have heard this about Attahi attanonato kohinato parosya attanahi sudantena natang labati dullabam. So this is something Buddha taught, as there is nothing like a well-trained self. Self is a well-trained mind is the biggest refuge one has. That's what the meaning of the Dhammapada verse is. He says there is nothing that helps us than our own self. Who else can help us? Then he goes further to say, what is this self he's talking about? A well-trained mind. A well-trained mind will never let us down, because we have it with us all the time. It goes with us. Nobody can steal it. Nobody can take it away from you. So what is this well-trained mind? How do one trains the mind? How does the mind becomes a well-trained mind? Meditation. That's what meditation is all about. Meditation is about, we need the precepts. You all have taken the precepts. That's a container that it holds, the container of precepts holds us. It holds us in the right place. The precepts are necessary, and that's the moral code one keeps. And then generosity, giving, and all of you are very familiar with, because you have been involved with the London Buddhist Vihara in one way or the other. And that's the second aspect, the generosity aspect. That's the foundation for meditation. Without the foundation of the morality and generosity, the meditation doesn't work. That's according to Buddha's teachings. Once we have the foundation, we need to spend time in meditation. Meditation is contemplation, reflection. It can be in a formal way, as in on a cushion, but one can do it anywhere. Meditation can take place 24 hours a day. So meditation is contemplating and reflecting. So I was just guiding you with the meditation earlier, how we uplift the mind to develop the qualities of goodness. So when these qualities of goodness is developed, what it does, it keeps away the hindrances. And Buddha talked about the hindrances. There are 5 hindrances. The hindrances are like a mental block. It blocks the mind. The successful life that can be led with a mind, with a clear mind, is completely blocked by these hindrances. That's why it's very important to overcome the hindrances. The hindrances are the nutriment for ignorance. That's according to Avijja Sutta. So we really have to make the effort to overcome the hindrances. And there are 5 hindrances, that is Kamachanda, sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and doubt. So if I take one, we'll see how far we can go. Kamachanda is sensual desire. What's kama or sensuality? Sensuality is thinking about some sign of we see something from the eye, and we get caught to that sign of beauty. We give unbiased attention to the sign of beauty because there's beauty in everything. There's nothing wrong in seeing the beauty. But if we take this sign of beauty in an unwise way, we don't have the yoniso manasikara. The wise reflection is not there. Unwise reflection is there. So we get caught to the sign of beauty. That means we think about it all the time. We see the sign of beauty. Oh, this will make me happy. This will make me happy for a long time. And therefore, I need to own it. I need to have it. So that's the unwise reflection one does. And this is how Kamachanda develops. We need to figure out how things arise. Then only one can overcome these things. And Buddha has clearly given a lot of instructions for all these hindrances. So this is how the sign of beauty, we get caught to the sign of beauty. We give unwise reflection. We put unwise reflection on it. The wise reflection is seeing it as impermanent and the foulness. If it's food, yes, it's when we see the food, yes, immediately we think it will be really, it's very nice, it will make me happy. But it's only for 1 minute, isn't it? From here to here. We chew it and it becomes vomit straight away. And then, of course, we need food. It extracts the nutrition. Then we put it out the next day. That's the true nature. So if we see it for its true nature, this is food that is needed for this body, but it's not going to make me happy forever. And it's for a few minutes. That feeling stays for a few minutes. I eat it to nourish the body. That's it. But if we think about it all the time, how can I get it? How can I make it even more? That's what happens, isn't it? We cook it and we improve the recipe. We collect more recipes as if we don't have enough food. Yes, everywhere you go, you collect recipes. I'm sure you're all very familiar with that. I can see some heads being. Because there's enough recipes and enough food, but still we are collecting more. It's never satisfied. That's what sensual desire does. It's compared to a bone without meat. So can you imagine a dog is given a bone without meat and the dog keeps biting it? The dog that will never be satisfied. Keeps biting. He must be bleeding and having the taste of his own blood. And still he keeps biting, thinking, oh, if I bite more, if I bite a bit more, I get the taste of meat. And that's what we do in life. We are never satisfied with anything. We are constantly chasing something, anything other than what we have. So this is the true nature of this existence, isn't it? We all know that. So that's how sensual desire, how we can be very caught in this sensual desire, thinking about something all the time and carrying it around. And that's covetousness. Then we become covetous. The covetousness arises and greed arises. Because at the very point of seeing it, we put unwise reflection. We didn't use the wise reflection. That's why yoniso manasikara, which is wise reflection, is really important. That's what we train ourselves to do, because we have heard these teachings for so long. It's time we put it into practice, isn't it? Because it's a teaching which can be used on a day-to-day life. It's not a teaching to be read and argued about and talked about. It's a teaching to be read, reflected upon, contemplated upon, and put it to practice in our life. This is what this is for. That's what it's here for. So that's Kama Chanda, sensual desire. And it's compared to somebody being in debt. We all know what it feels like to be in debt. We want to pay it off, yes? If we have a mortgage or if we have taken a loan for the car, we really like to pay off the debt. And it's also compared to colored water, because if this glass of water is very clear, I can see through, but if I put any dye or something, food coloring or something, like I can put blue, green, and then it becomes so murky. So that clear seeing is taken off by the dye. So Kamachanda is like that, sensual desire is like that, because the mind is tainted by this defilement, and so the mind's clarity is gone. That's why hindrances are a block to our success, because the mind is not available in its clear form, in its pristine clear form. It's defiled. So that's the first hindrance. And the second one is ill will. Ill will can arise through resentment, through dissatisfaction, disappointment. So ill will is just feeling, I wish this person is not here. I'm sure we can give an example when we drive. If somebody is going very slow in front of us, I'm sure what comes to the mind is, I wish this person is not in front of me. That's wanting that person to get out of the way, isn't it? Just because the person is driving slowly. And when you think of it, these kind of thoughts arise in our mind all the time, isn't it? Oh no, not this one. I wish this person is not here. So see how these thoughts arise. That's because we have seen it as a sign of repulsiveness. Earlier, Kamachanda, it became a sign of beauty. Now it's a sign of repulsiveness. And we are giving attention to the sign of repulsiveness. So that's what the ill will arise. And every thought has a reason, isn't it? Everything has a nutriment. There's a reason for things to arise. And sometimes Kamachanda leads to ill will because we chase something we want, and when we can't get it, the very object becomes our sign of repulsiveness, isn't it? The very person that we are kind of chasing after become our enemy, because can't have this. Well, it could be a person or a thing. So that very object can turn our mind into ill will, because we can't get it. So the next thing we do is we develop ill will. So these things are all connected. That's why sensual desire is so important. Most things lead from there. Most things lead from covetousness and greed. And when we can't, it becomes hatred, ill will. So it's either one or the other. Either we chase or we push away. It's all born because we are deluded. So that's ill will. And ill will is compared to as somebody is sick. Because when we are sick, we can't taste things properly, isn't it? When we are sick, when we eat food, the taste disappears. So you can imagine what it does to the mind. Because these similes, Buddha is such a genius, he explains his Dhamma with similes, giving similes. And for me, when I think of the simile, the quality becomes very alive. Because when we have thoughts of ill will, when we have thoughts of sensual desire, Unfortunately, we get carried away with them. But when we reflect it later, this is what ill will does. You think, is it really necessary to have these thoughts? I must make the effort to make a difference. So ill will is compared to somebody who's sick, not feeling the taste properly. And that explains the whole quality in the mind, isn't it? So why do we need to do this to our minds when the mind is with us? That's why the well-trained mind and that self is so important. That's what we must aim for. And when it comes to water, he compared it to boiling water. And you can see the boiling water is very dangerous. We can't touch it. It's boiling. The water is boiling. And it makes a big difference to a water which is not boiling and the water that is boiling. So that's what ill will is compared to. And the third one is dullness. Dullness and sleepiness. Sloth and torpor. That's something to contemplate on. Usually, it's the discontentment that leads to dullness. Because when we are chasing something, then we can't get it, then the ill will arise. And the mind has gone through all this now, the sensual desire, the ill will. The next stage is the mind it reaches sloth and torpor. It's tired, or it's a kind of a sleepiness that arises. And what Buddha says in another sutta is, if one can notice that this particular thought led to dullness in the mind, first thing to do is to remove that thought. Be careful of that thought which led to this dullness in the mind. So it's best to be, that's one way of overcoming the dullness and the sleepiness. Just reflect back and see what kind of a thought led the mind into that dullness and sleepiness. It's like this is what we do when we realize that certain thoughts lead to certain quality, we have to replace those thoughts. It's like a carpenter using a new peg to replace the old peg. So the carpenter places the new peg, hammer on it, and the old peg gets thrown out. So in the same way, we have to pay a lot of attention to thoughts that come to our mind. And when we recognize that this thought is the thought that led to sleepiness or the dullness, it's best not to follow that thought. And usually it's considered that discontentment, if we have a kind of a carping mind, if you're constantly complaining about things, if you're constantly having a mind which finds faults in everything, just be aware of that mind state. And the more we get into that kind of mind state, if it is the underlying tendency in us, the mind itself become sleepy and dull. Imagine, you can see when somebody, it does happen when we are taken away from something we really like as well. Just watch, I'm sure you all have seen these boys, they play with all these computer games, they love playing on their computer games. And they are asked not to do it, especially. And then, the son might not listen to it, or the daughter. And then when this gadget is taken away, because the child is not listening to it anymore, and you take it away. And what happens? They get very angry and become very frozen in that state, isn't it? Won't do anything. I won't do anything. I'm sure you've seen that kind of behavior. I don't want to do anything. It's a kind of a very numb state they go into, because they're so angry, because they had the sensual desire to play the game, and it's taken away, so they get very angry. And what happens next? Dullness, sloth and torpor, because I'm not getting my own way. So you get into a numb state. And that's the dull state, dull and sleepy state Buddha was talking about in this third hindrance. Of course, there's sleepiness before the sleep, that's part of it as well. But that is the mind state Buddha was talking about. How we become so paralyzed because my favorite thing has been taken away. So I'll be very stubborn and sit here. No, I won't do anything. I'm sure you all have experienced this. If you have children, or if you were a child, I'm sure behaved in that way. So that kind of a state, this paralysis, the mental paralysis one gets into, started with sensual desire and ill will. The next thing, paralysis, mental paralysis. So that's what the Sanghamitta, the sloth and torpor, Buddha was talking about in the third hindrance. And that's not very helpful, isn't it? How can the mind act in a good way when we are so angry and we hit the mental paralysis? It's compared to like being in a prison, because we imprison ourselves in this mind state, because we have created that mind state. I'm not getting what I want, so I behave like this. You can see that very much in children. I'm sure as adults we have it, we do it in a very different way. We might not say such things, but we know when we hit that stage as an adult, because we have been used to it from childhood days. So that's sloth and torpor, and it's compared to algae-borne water, because it's slow, still, isn't it? Cannot. That's why the mental paralysis is compared to that. And that's something to watch for, because we hit this state a lot, and we fall in sleepiness. Sleepiness can happen in meditation as well. That's a different thing. But I'm talking about in day-to-day life how it can be, how it embodies in how our mind gets into that state. And I think that's all I can talk about sloth and torpor, or sleepiness, dullness of the mind. And also sometimes we can also think when a disaster happens, like when your favorite vase breaks, what happens? We become, because it's our favorite vase, and so angry, it got broken, it fell down accidentally, and it's broken, we are very angry. And then we are paralyzed in that mind state. We're very much paralyzed in that mind state. What do I do? That's the thing to remember. I think we can all relate to that in day-to-day life. There's a mental paralysis there. Something that belongs to us, something favorite has broken. And the next one is restlessness and worry. Restlessness and worry. Restlessness is not knowing what to do, because we have choices. Do I watch this program or that program? Do I go here or do I go there? Do I do this practice? Do I do this meditation practice, or do I do this meditation practice? So we kind of state of wondering what to do. Sometimes it happens because we take a lot of unnecessary information, A lot of information gets into our heads. This is a day of information age, isn't it? There's so much information. So we take all this information in, and after taking it in, we don't know how to cope with it. We're more lost than before. And sometimes having unnecessary conversations. So we have these conversations, so after the conversations, the mind is so heavy because we have taken it in. So that's why it's very important to reflect, put wise attention. When we have conversations, when we take information in, is this useful? Is this going to do any good to me? So reflect, and we can be present, but internally we can reflect, is this really information useful to me? Do I need to follow this information? I can be part of this conversation, but I can filter through what I take in. That ability we have. That's what the well-trained mind does. That's the self we can rely on. When Buddha was talking about there's no self better than the well-trained mind. So we have that capacity in our own self, how the information can be analyzed and reflected over before we take it in. That capacity we have, the mind is available for us all the time, really. We have that mindfulness, we have the wisdom, we have the wise reflection. These are qualities we have. And the more we use that in these kind of situations, more we can protect the mind from taking this unnecessary information and getting involved with unnecessary conversations and taking the information in and then suffering afterwards. And then the worry is, we worry about the wrong we have done and we worry about the good we couldn't do. So if we have done something wrong, it's best to admit to oneself that this is something wrong that has been done, to forgive oneself, truly accept the wrongness in the act, be honest to oneself, forgive oneself, or if it's somebody else, forgive the other person and move on. Because that's what, if we keep on worrying about it, that doesn't help the mind either, isn't it? The mind's capacity is gone. So one has to be honest to oneself and accept the wrongdoing as wrongdoing, forgive oneself, and endeavor to do better. That's how we progress. We recognize this is the wrong way to do it. I endeavor to do better and try not to make the same mistake. So that's the restlessness and worry. And that's considered as being slave, because we become slave to our thoughts. It's the master says anything, we do it. So the mind is not available for us. We are slaves to our own thoughts. So it's like being a slave. And it's compared to the rippled water. We know when we see the water in a ripple state, it has a calamity. We are going round in circles, isn't it? And the last one is doubt. So when we hit doubt, we doubt everything. We doubt the teachings, we doubt our practice, we doubt everything. And when we hit doubt, recognize it. This is doubt. And see how we go in circles. It's like being lost in desert. We don't know which way to go and we are frightened that the animals or predators will come and take us. So there's a fear born out of this doubt. So it's best to recognize this is doubt and not let it take us over, not to get caught in that circle of doubt. And it's compared to muddy water because it's very murky again and you can't see anything. And this is how the 5 hindrances can take the clarity of the mind, because the mind is available for us when, in a clear way, when the 5 hindrances are not there. So the teachings and the how one can train one's mind is to keep an eye on these 5 hindrances arising in our minds. How these 5 hindrances arise, what it does, and being able to reflect on giving attention later on to see how it arose and reflect on it and use the wise reflection. Because the more we use the wise reflection, seeing things and everything that's beautiful is not going to give us pleasure all the time. It will give us pleasure for a little while, but that's it. It's so temporary. It ends up in sadness anyway. Can't keep that pleasure going, can we? And then it will end. And you can't make it mine because nothing belongs to us. So to be able to see things, this will not give me long-lasting pleasure. It's not going to be permanent, and I can't own it for myself. So that kind of wise reflection we do help us to overcome these mental states in our mind. And that's how we understand and observe the mind, and we bring the mind to a quality which is wholesome, which will do good. Because having a mind which is wholesome is much far better than having a mind, abiding in a mind which is full of unwholesome qualities. So I like to end it here, and this is all I can say for now about the 5 hindrances, but I can have a quick question. If you have a quick question, I'll answer, but there's not much time. I think we have to stop at 11 o'clock. Yes. Yes, quick question.
Can I please have the Pali words for 5 hindrances so I know how much under? What is the Pali word for the
Vyapada.
And Dharma's Tinamida.
Tinamida, yeah.
And restlessness?
Uddacha Kukucha.
Right, I know that.
Good. At least you know them. It's a good start. Yeah?
You say that we should be very mindful about chasing things that are attractive. Sometimes we chase things which we believe are good, but actually they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any tips on how to tell the difference?
That's where wisdom comes, I know. We constantly chase things that are good, and they end up, I'm sorry, we go into job saying this will make me happy for the rest of life. After 2 years we change the job. We get married like that, and some marriages last, but some don't. But that's life, isn't it? We chase anything. We think that's exactly, but I'm not saying don't do anything in life, but have this reflection. Don't think this is the thing that's going to make me happy. You do it knowing, yes, you have to take up jobs, you have to find houses, you have to buy cars, so we will be chasing things anyway. But remember, this is not going to make me happy for the rest of my life. So even if you chase things that are good, that have disappointed you, that's life. You've understood life now then. But that's how it is. We will be chasing, that's our nature. Who has stopped chasing things? Well, we won't be here now if we have stopped chasing things. That's our nature. That's the samsara. So just understand it. It's just understanding. That's what Buddha was talking about in the First Noble Truth. Just understand what suffering is. It brings stress. Stress is brought because of this nature. But unfortunately, we are programmed in this way. So we have to swim the other way, which takes a lot of courage. If you can say, yes, it's good, I'm not chasing it. Good. If you can be without it, well done. Try.
Yeah.
That's why I said, don't look for new recipes. I have enough recipes. Because food is the thing that we chase most, I'm sure. Maybe not noticing it. That's what keeps us in samsara. Yes.
Sloth and torpor, is it both physical and mental dullness or inactivity?
I think Buddha was talking about the mental. It can affect physically, but he was talking about the mental aspect of it. That's how I see it, because Buddha was training us, teaching us to train our mind. Of course, the mind, there is this mind and body. When the mind is dull, the body gets dull, the body falls asleep, it happens. But Buddha was talking about mental paralysis, as in sloth and torpor. Mental, not physical. That's how I know it. Some may say differently, but that's how I know it. Because it's very obvious, if we can really get in touch with mental paralysis, mental sloth and torpor, it can stop going into the body when you come to that point. Initially, it does go to the body, of course. We fall asleep. But once we have developed and can catch it in the mind hitting the sloth and torpor, it won't go into the body. Yeah. It's a thing to try for. I think there's only 1 minute left according to this clock, because thank you for your attention. Please take whatever is useful with you and the rest leave behind. Thank you for your attention.
Let us offer the Buddha Puja. This is the annual Dana ceremony of St. Paul's Girls' School, Vinagiri, every year for the Sanghamitta Day. They sponsor the program. They have prepared the food for the day. The first part of this preparation we offer to the Buddha, and Buddha, we can share our food with the Buddha. They want to remember all the principals, those who had rendered their service to the college, and all the teachers who had dead and gone, and all the sisters, their classmates, those who have left. They want to wish may they attain nirvana, and also they want to convey the blessings to the new principal and to the staff and to their students of the school. May they all receive the blessings of this ceremony. It's a very good opportunity to everyone. These girls always dedicate very much their time to a successful day. They prepare everything for the ceremony. And now let us offer the Buddha Puja and also offer dana to the Sangha today. Not only monks, and we also have nuns as well. We can offer dana to the monks and nuns and upasakas and upasikas who have observed 8 precepts today. There are nearly 40 people have observed 8 precepts, and to everyone. Those who have attended here today, they can share the food today after the Buddha Puja. Let us say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And namo tassa bhagavato arahato. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Pānātipātā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Adinādānā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchācārā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Surāmīrya majjipamā datthanā veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Okay, the first part of your preparation, you have prepared dana with great shraddha. May the Buddha Puja go to the Buddha. Enormous blessings be with everyone, and also blessings to departed all the principals and teachers and your sisters in the school. Share the blessings and also blessings to the new staff of the school and the students of the school. Siddhanam Sadharim Ve Gata Kira Buddha Puja Pavatano Gata Kira Vanna Gandha Bhagavā
අදිවාසේතු නොවන්තේ භෝජනං පරිකම්පිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්නාතුත්තම අදිවාසේතු නොවන්තේ සම්මං සද්දාය පූජිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්නාතුත්තම වන්දාමි චේතියං සම්බං සම්වටානි සුපතිට්ඨිතං සාරීරික ධාතු මහබෝධින් බුද්ධ රූපං සකලං සදා පායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමමේ වන්දේ භූරි වන්න තථාගත ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ වාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිම්පාන පත්තියා සාදු සාදු සාදු
As you are celebrating the Sanghamitta day today, you must be specifically happy that in order to accept your offerings, it's not only the Bhikkhu Sangha but also the Bhikkhuni Sangha is present here today. Now next you are going to dedicate the second part of your food preparation to the Sangha. May the Sangha accept our offerings. May the punya that you accrue from today's offerings be upon all the departed late principals and staffs and also teaching staff and non-academic staff as well of St. Paul College, Milagiri, Sri Lanka. And at the same time, we want the Sangha to invoke blessings upon the newly appointed principal and the current staff as well as all the students of St. Paul College, Milagiri. And may the blessings be upon each and every one of you as well. You all got together to organize this event. In order to may the merit you accrue be upon yourself as well. On the worldly level, may this punya keep you strong and keep you immune to all the negativities in your life. On the transcendental level, may this dana offering serve as a paramita in order for you to walk away from this agonizing samsara by achieving your nirvana one day. With those sacred objectives in your heart, would you please repeat after me this formula? Imang bhikkhaṃ saparikkhāraṃ sanghassa dema. Imang bhikkhaṃ saparikkhāraṃ sanghassa dema. Imang bhikkhaṃ saparikkhāraṃ sanghassa dema. Ikitaṃ Vajjitam Tuyam Ipameva Samijjatu Habe Kurendo Citta Sankappa Dando Vannarasi
සම්බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ උදෙසා පළමුකොට සොයි සොද්දු අග්‍රෝ බුද්ධ පූජා පවත්වායින්නන දුරුව සැරියුත් මුගලන් මහරහතන් වහන්සේලාගෙන් අවිචින්න පැවැතෙන මහා සංඝරත්නය උදෙසා විනුදානෙන් ජනිත වන්නා වූ සරුදුල පුණ්‍ය සම්භාර ධර්මයෝ පළමුකොට දෙවියන් විසින් අනුමෝදන් වනු ලැබෙත්වා එම පින් අනුමෝදන් වීමෙන් දෙවියන්ගේ දේවානුභාවෙන් ශ්‍රීමත් බුද්ධාදී රත්නත්‍රයාගේ අනුභාවෙන් මම දන් දෙන්නා වූ නිතල බල කුසල කාමී සකල ශ්‍රද්ධාවත් පින්වතුන්ටත් තම තමන්ගේ නමින් නැති මිය පරලෝක ප්‍රාප්ත වූ මව්පිය ගුරුවරයාදී නැහිත මිතුරු මේ සෑම සියලු දෙනාටමත් සුජීවත්ව වාසය කරන්නා වූ මව්පිය දූ දරුවාදී සම සියලු දෙනාටමත් එකම සද්ධර්ම මණ්ඩපයේදී මේ සියලු පුණ්‍ය සම්භාර ධර්මයෝ හේතු වේවා වාසනාව වේවායි ඥාසිතා චිත්ත ප්‍රීතියෙන් යුක්තව සාදර සිතින් පින් අනුමෝදන් යුතු.
We are going to do a little chanting to share the blessings of this ceremony. After the Talim, there will be a little water pouring ceremony to commemorate our late, most venerable Madhava Vajjanana Nagathero. He passed away on 15 in December. So therefore this year also annually we perform this ceremony with the combination of this memorial ceremony. So therefore after the Dani we do that. Sabbitiyo
Viranjantu Sabbarogo Vinasatu Mate Bhavattvantarayo Sukhiti Rayuko Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Buddhanubhavena Sada Sundri Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Dhammanubhavena Sada Sundri Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sada Sundri Bhavantu Te.
Okay, now we can offer Dani in the main hall. Let us move to the main hall for our food.